Comedy Kitchen with Chef Sel was recorded in front of a fake audience.
Hey guys, Chef Sel right here. Anyway, that's right, I am Chef Sel. I don't think I posted. Did I post this week? I don't know. It's Friday. I got a late start. A lot going on. Good stuff. Good stuff. I want to thank everybody for subscribing and joining and following and liking. Remember the old days? You never really said to an adult, "Hey, listen, would you like me? Yeah, do me a favor, like me." Anyway, so here's what we're doing today. Gluten-free homemade cinnamon rolls. I happen to be, I would say an expert. Yeah, I would say an expert. I'm an expert on gluten-free, especially baking and flours. My wife and I, yes. Ah, yes. It was on Wife and High that I first noticed the clouds. My wife and I had a gluten-free business 2 or 3 years ago. Very, very tough product, but we got it. We don't have the business anymore, but you have me now to show you what I learned from not doing it right. Okay, so first of all, you have to get good flour. You can try doing your own creation. I've tried, I have failed. I have tried, I almost got there and I failed. And I thought I was there, but then I found Grandpa's Kitchen gluten-free products. Now today we're going to use the bread and pizza mix, but they also have an all-purpose mix. This Grandpa's guy, I don't know what he's doing over there, but he's getting it right. I'll down in the comments later, or whatever you call it, description, I'll put the website. You gotta buy this stuff if you're gonna do these things. It comes out better tasting than the wheat flour. Sorry, wheat industry, but it is. It's better tasting than your stuff. And then glue, there's no gluten. Glue in your system. Glue, get it? All right, so we have the dry ingredients that we're going to use based on this delicious flour I told you about. And we also have the wet ingredients, okay? Now, we're gonna mix a little bit of the dry and the wet together. This, at the beginning here, I'm going to cream. I have about 2/3 of a cup of sugar. And I also have about 2 big hefty tablespoons of room temperature butter. Smushy, all right? I got it in my mixer here and I'm putting it on medium. And you gotta keep going until it gets into like a creamy state and it gets pale, you know, like me today. Summer's coming. So while this is going, I'm gonna get my dry and my wet ingredients together. Okay, we said we had the flour, right? And then we have 1/2 cup of sugar. I said 2/3 of a cup, but 1/2 cup's fine also. We're not gonna split hairs here. 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and a package of yeast. You know, it's about a little less than a tablespoon. It's one of those packages. Regular yeast, all right? And then we have an egg, 1/4 cup of oil, and 2/3 of a cup of milk at 105 degrees for the wet. And we've already used the butter and the sugar. So you subtract and you add what you need to do next. So let's let this go. And I'll come back when this is ready for the next step. Come on back. Time for the wet. And here we have 1 egg, as I told you, 1/4 cup of oil. We have 2/3 of that milk. It's still kind of warm. That's what we want because we're dealing with yeast here. And I'm also going to add some of this vanilla. I already put it in there, about a teaspoon of vanilla. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but I'm getting good at this. Here's your stuff. Here's your wet. It's going in here, all right? So let's pour this in now. I moved it down to medium speed. I had it up there for a while it was creaming this butter and the sugar together. Now we're going to let this go. Okay, it's looking good. It's looking pale. Like I said, that's the way you want it. It's not the way you want you to look. It's the way you want that to look. Right? It's a pale liquid. All right. All right. So move it down to a little less than medium speed so you don't get the white all over you. And you know, they say a little at a time. We're not going to proof this yeast. By proofing the yeast, a lot of the bakers and a lot of the YouTube people, and even on those fancy TV shoes. I got fancy TV shoes on today. All right. Anyway, The fancy TV chefs on the TV shows, you know, those networks and stuff, they tell you that you got to proof the yeast, which means put the yeast in the liquid, in like the milk or whatever, with some sugar. You don't have to do that. It's fallacy. It's a fallacy. Why would you want to bring something up with bubbles and get it foamy and get it nice, and then add all this stuff and move it down and then punch it down? Just listen to me. Let's get the rest of this flour in here. Actually, the flour and the dry and the baking soda, baking powder, and whatever else we had in there, and move it up again. So I'm going to let that mix. I'm going to scrape it out onto this already prepared for you cutting board, and we're going to knead it a little bit. You don't have to knead it a lot. There's no gluten in here, so you don't have to kick in any of the gluten or anything like that. And we're going to make the dough. I'm going to spread it out, put a nice little kind of stuffing in there, a sweet, delicious stuffing type thing. Roll it up, slice it, bake the heck out of it. All right, that's still going now. Before I started anything, way before I started anything, I realized, I said, hey, Chef Sal, you're going to be rising these rolls in the oven before you bake them. So I put the oven on, just put it on 350 for a minute. Time yourself, turn it off, and now by the time you get these rolls in there to rise, it's going to be nice and warm in there, like you're going to be all cuddled up.
Staying cozy and warm at sporting events.
It's going to be delicious, right? You're gonna rise them for about 30 minutes. Keep them in there. Take off the covering. We're gonna put saran wrap on them. Keep them in there. You're gonna turn on the oven while they're in there to 350 and let them continue to rise and bake. All right. All right. So my dough is sticky. I'm gonna take it out and show you. Don't worry. You say, take it out and show us. I will. Yes. I'm down. Right, I'm going to take it out, I'm going to throw it onto this board, I'm going to put some bench flour on there, make sure it's gluten-free flour. I have Grandpa's gluten-free regular blend, and we're just going to keep working this until it becomes nice and smooth. It's smooth already, but you know, maybe about 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and then we're going to kind of flatten it out into a big rectangle. You'll see, you'll see. All right, so come back when I tell you to. And back! Special effects. All right, so I'm going to roll this out now. Well, I'm going to kind of throw it out here. It's very sticky. It's almost wet. When you're working with gluten-free, that's the way it's going to be, okay? You want to get this to a consistency of somewhere between a good stiff dough and kind of a wet, sort of loose dough. It's got to be in between, otherwise it's not going to rise the way you want it. And keep this, like I said, keep this bench flour around because it's going to stick to your hands and you're going to get all messed up and everything's going to get messy. So see what I'm doing? I'm just lightly kind of turning it over itself. I'm picking up some of this flour to dry it out a little bit. So let's just do this for a while. All right, I have moved it out now onto another board. And now we're going to pretty much just make like a big football field of dough. Yeah, rectangular. And the size I'm going to use as a guide is going to be the size of this silicone mat here with lots of flour on it. Remember this? Remember I said? Okay, good. Now what I wanted to say was, remember I told you this is sticky dough. So I have a lot of bench flour on this already non-stick silicone thingy just in case, all right? And what I'm gonna do now, you can use a rolling pin, but I like to use my hands and get it out to less than 1/4 inch thickness and get it to, see there's a little border here that creates kind of like a rectangular shape for me, and that's what I kind of like to use as the guide. I'm using this shape as a guide.
Alright, man.
And just do it, all right? Just do it. And it'll take you a while to get the process down or whatever technique, whatever you want to call it. And you don't want to make it too thin, you know, because he's a you know, morning breakfast, gooey, thick, fluffy, crispy, soft on the inside, delicious rolls. So, whew, you don't want to make it too thin. So let's go. It's pretty much a rectangle now. It's about a, you know, skimpy 1/4 inch. That's what I want. I'm going to let it rest for a while because I want more of the liquids and the moisture to get absorbed by that gluten-free flour that's in there just swimming around. You know, it's swimming, it's looking for stuff. It's going to absorb. So in the meantime, let's melt some butter. Let's go, what should I say? Yeah, half a stick of butter, 4 tablespoons. I'm going to melt it in here. We're going to paint it on. And we're going to sprinkle a combination of cinnamon and brown sugar. How's that on top of that? And then we're going to roll it up. So let's go, a quarter of a cup, I think, of brown sugar will be good. And let's get about a tablespoon maybe of some really good quality cinnamon. Mix that together and then crumble it on after we paint on this melted butter. And that's it. You roll it up and you bake it. And then we'll make the topping later. It's a cream cheese vanilla delicious topping. It's a glaze. Glaze. All right. I'm gonna go 3 tablespoons of butter. And let's torch this. And when this is ready to come out, I'll show you. I'll have the brush ready, like I always do, like magic. Just, calm down. All right. I got one of these silicone brushes. You see, they're not stiff like the old whisk type brushes. These are kind of loose, so it's a very light dough. You don't want to puncture it. So let's start brushing this melted butter, unsalted butter, by the way. Just let it ride on the top. Not a big deal. Let it ride. And boom, like magic, because that's the way it goes when you have a cell phone and editing equipment. I put together, it turned out to be a little bit more than I said. So what? See? That's about a half a cup of brown sugar. You can use dark brown, light brown, whatever. And a good tablespoon of a really good quality cinnamon, all right? And I'm just gonna sprinkle it onto this butter-laden dough. Just sprinkle it on, it's okay. It's okay, don't get crazy, all right? All right, so I'm gonna turn it this way. I'm gonna roll it away from me. So I'm gonna start with this mat, and I'm gonna try to get it as tight as I can to start, and kind of bring the mat away. And if I flour this up right, I can get a nice tight roll, and that's what I'm looking for. And just keep rolling it from the center to the edge. Tight, center to the edge, tight. All right, you can pat the ends in if you want. You can cut them off. Now I'm gonna make 8 out of this. You could make 16. So let me get a knife and keep this knife floured. I'm just sticking it right here in the flour. And let's go half first. Faster the better, folks. Faster the better. Okay, flour again. Before every cut, you're gonna flour this little baby. Boom. Nice. We're shooting for 8. Boom. And boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at that. Now we're gonna put these in a baking dish. Hello. I wasn't there, was I? I was here. Hi, you see? It's my shoulder. This is what I do. This is my shoulder does when I'm off camera. It's kind of weird, right? Hey! Anyway. So, we're going to get a baking dish. Okay? They're going to expand, but I'm going to expand upward. Not outward and let them fall apart. I want them to stay together, right? Alright, I put some, spread a little butter in here. Now I'm going to take some of this flour. Kind of hit it so the flour kind of goes all around. Sides, edges, bottom. And then kind of knock out the excess, alright? So let me do this. Beautiful. And I'm going to take these things, and on the end ones, you see you want the cut side up, and try to make them round. It's okay. Be their friend. All right, I have them all here kind of nestled. See? They're kind of nestled. Room around the edge. Not a big deal, right? And I have a little leftover of this just melted butter, so what I'm going to do is just kind of dab the tops. It'll give it a nice brown, too. And I wouldn't say a crunchy effect, but maybe a nice light crust on the top. Because a crust always leads the way to a fluffy inside.
Say what?
Alright, I'm going to cover them with plastic wrap. Put them in the kind of warm oven for about 30 minutes. Okay, plastic wrap is loose. I didn't make the plastic wrap tight because when they rise, I don't want it to like stretch and all things can happen.
It was like an explosion.
All things. So we gotta pretty much head it all off at the pass, as they say. It's in a dry oven, nothing's on yet. It's just a warm oven. And after they rise, I'm gonna put it on and let it go about 30-35 minutes at 350. And you check them. That's all. You just check them. You'll know when they're done. You'll know when they're done. And then we're gonna make the glaze in the meantime. So I'll be back with the glaze portion of the show. All right. Well, they have come out of the oven. Well, they didn't just walk out of the oven. I took them out. All right. They came out fluffy and just a slight little crispy outside, and I know that they're gonna be billowy inside. Look it up, billowy.
Of or pertaining to billows, swelling or swollen into large waves, full of billows or surges resembling billows.
All right, so let's make some glaze, okay? Here, in this mixing bowl here, it doesn't look like much yet, but wait. 1/4 cup of cream cheese, room temperature. 2-3 tablespoons of softened butter, room temperature's fine. 1.25 cups of confectioner's sugar. I have some milk here, just whole milk. 1/2 cup, 3/4 cup. Microwave, get it warm. And what I want you to do is mix this in slowly. Let's see if I can find my little thingy here. You just want to melt what's in here already. So I don't want it to get too flowy, I guess you would say. So we use a whisk, and we be very patient. And you see it start to break up a little bit. So here it is. Mix, 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 mix. Get the lumps out of there. You know, it's kind of flowy. I like it personally, the thicker the better, because then it'll show. You know, it'll show on the outside of the buns. That's really what you want. I'm getting a bigger whisk. That's all I'm doing. Don't be sitting up. What's he doing? What? What's he doing? Is that another whisk? So, bigger the instrument, faster the job. And just keep it going. You know, try to space it out. You know, look up how many you have left. Look at how many you have left and leave that much. You know, I like. You know, I'm the king of whatever tastes good. Use a lot of it, but you don't have to be like that. You know, you can have class. You don't have to be like me. I just took 2 of them out. I took 2 of them out. Look at that. Look at that. I know. Delicious. Delicious. Homemade gluten-free cinnamon rolls, ladies and gentlemen. Here from Chef Sal, from the horse's mouth. Look at that. Like I said, they're warm. They're out of the oven. And now hello to my friends at Instagram. You big cold-blooded dummy. Whatever. Anyway, like I said, subscribe if you can, right down there. Subscribe, boom. You'll know when the next one's coming out. It's great to be back. I had a couple of weeks off, but I am back. Look at these delicious cinnamon rolls, gluten-free. No glue in there. Anyway, I am Chef Sal. Enjoy this one.